Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby along with Jeff Gerard on your place for news, talk, and information. Learning about your financial future, of course, planning to retire. You know, think of it like a race, Jeff. We've talked about this before. Total Financial Solutions, part of our goal is to help you retire. Now, what does that mean? For most people, retirement is a little bit different today, certainly than their grandparents, maybe even their parents.
I would agree with that. You know, the old retirement used to be you would work for a company right out of high school. Few people went to college, right? They found a good job. Your folks always told you, get a good job with benefits. And you worked there for 25, 30 years. You got the gold watch and a pension, and you died a few years later. I mean, that's basically what retirement used to be, unless you were fortunate to live into your 80s, I guess. And
you know, I actually have my grandfather's gold watch. It was given to me after he passed away,
nice.
And cherish it. It could be worth $1 million or a dollar. It doesn't matter. The value of it is just important to me. But what was interesting about it now as an adult is, first of all, you see that it is not real gold, and second of all, it's a little Japanese Seiko.
Okay.
So you know, not bad.
Does it tell the time?
It does, I think, most of the time.
Okay.
It's trying. But you know, different than what you might say is, oh, that gold, I don't know, you pick it Rolex or something. Great, what a nice watch, what a nice... Well, really what happens at the end is it's a symbol of, I don't know why they would give you a gold watch, so you can check to see the time while you're still alive.
When you're retired?
What is that? So there's that process of going through and planning. And I say, think about running a race, right? Your goal is to run a race, to finish. You know, you spend years prepping for it. And then you get to the place, and as you finalize that turn on the home stretch, you cross the line and your hands are up, your head is back, you've given all you can give, and you almost kind of stop and collapse at your knees and you say, okay, that's it. I hit age 62, 52, 58. You pick the number, whatever it is it's supposed to be for you. And you say, and now I'm retired. But so many people are retiring for different reasons. And here's what we're finding. My experience has been 20 years now doing this, that we have found that people are retiring for what reason? They're usually retiring for grandkids. They're usually retiring because maybe they were forced to, or there was a buyout option at work. I know we're seeing that a lot with folks that work at Kaiser, Verizon, Edison, the gas company. We're seeing it with a lot of the large companies, almost what you might call a legacy employer. Mm-hmm. They're taking their pension, they're walking away with some dollars, and they're saying, okay, I'm still young and healthy. I'm playing with my grandchildren. But then, a few years later, Jeff, maybe around 10 years about, we see untirement.
Well, kids grow up. And as a client recently put it in the last couple of years, it's like having, what was it, 6 or 7 Saturdays in a row?
That's right.
That's what retirement is. Okay, great. You're going to spend the most money in retirement that you're ever going to spend in the first 5, maybe even 3 years of retirement. And then I think retirement starts to set in. That mindset says, look, this is great. This is the youngest and healthiest I'm ever going to be. I'm going to travel. I'm going to spend all the time that I couldn't spend with my kids. I'm going to do that now with my grandkids. Finish some of those projects I had. Take up some hobbies that I always wanted to do. And then, now what? 10 years go by. I think even sooner people are starting to look for the purpose in their life as they're starting to see kind of a forecast. Okay, these kids are growing up. They don't need me to make them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I can only bake so many cookies. I can only take my grandson fishing so many times. I just ran into someone recently that was quote unquote retired, and white beard, white hair, but you could see so much youth in his eyes and in his voice. He loved being around people, and that was his purpose. So he purposely wanted to engage and interact with people, so he got a job driving people around, being like a shuttle service, working for a company that provided a shuttle service, and that was his main job. He didn't want to do anything else, but he wanted to keep his mind fresh and earn some money so he could see his grandkids and his daughters through college. And I thought, well, that's amazing. That's really nice. I said, well, are you working because you have to? If you don't mind me asking a personal question. He says, well, no. He says, it's nice to have the extra money. It doesn't, hurt to have extra money, especially when you're helping with college. But he says, I love being around people. And that right there was his purpose for going back to work.
Because part of it is you might be retired, but you may not have enough money to travel to the places you want to go, or maybe you've already gone. A gentleman was in the other day, said, Arif, I've done all of it. I don't have a bucket list. I've done all the stuff that I was supposed to do, that I wanted to do. My bucket list is over, and I'm still he's still in his late 60s. Looks like he's in his 50s. So this untirement, if you will, where you go and you plan a life that says, I'm now going to have purpose. Now, here's what happens. We're going to spend the first segment here going over what I think is pretty important, which is the money side of things. Because if money is done properly, then the purpose will follow. But if not, you end up making choices and decisions on where to work and what to do that are usually jumping from the frying pan into the fire. Often people say, I don't like my job because I don't like the commute, I don't like the boss, or I don't like the hours, or I don't like the new programs and policies and procedures and things I have to do. So people will retire, they're right on the edge. You'll say they'll retire for whatever reason. But if they get to that 8 or 10 year mark after retirement, and now they say, I did not plan properly financially speaking, what has happened? What's been the problem? Very simply, you guys, nobody there even remembers who you are. You're gone. So now you have to go back to school, and in whatever field you were originally, because most likely you didn't maintain the skill set. So you have to learn a whole new set of computer skills and computer program. You have to go and learn a whole new set of foundation of work etiquette, and now the millennials that think that they run the show, right? People that,
Don't they?
These are my hours. Really, there's also the door. A recent set of millennials, it was incredible, just happened this summer. It was a big report that came out. I want to say it was a law firm, but it could have been an accounting firm, a large company that brings in a dozen or so interns, it seems, every year, college students to assist, work things. It's great. Well, they didn't like the dress code. They wanted to dress more casually. They didn't like the formal dress. So they drafted this letter. They met after hours. They drafted their proposal. This is what we propose. They all signed it, and put it all together, and they submitted it to the senior partners and the partners and said, this is what I'd like to do. They called them all in, and they said, okay, we received your proposal. And wouldn't you know that those millennials were shocked when they said they are now immediately terminated. They cannot go back to work. They must turn in their badge, go to their desk with a security escort, and walk out the door. So imagine if you're somebody who retired 8 or 10 or 12 years ago, and you walk into an environment where somebody who doesn't even brush their hair and maybe shaves once a month, right? Different work ethic than you and I had, different set of skill set, right? They're amazing on the computers, but they don't look at you in the eye when they talk to you. And all the things that would have gotten you fired or even never hired to begin with, and yet the industry or the organization is now permeated with folks that have a different set of standards. That's different for you and I, isn't it? So you have to understand, if you're going to pop back into the workforce, you have to stay relevant. And the way you stay relevant is to make sure you have choices. And the choices, in my opinion, come from financially savvy decisions early on. Jeff, we've talked about this before. Putting aside money in your work retirement account where there is a guaranteed match, right? 4%, 6%, whatever it is. That's the first place you go. That's free money, guys.
And that would seem like the no-brainer, is to go get the money that someone's enticing you to save. You're saving money for your future. And, oh, by the way, your employer, who should have absolutely nothing to do with your retirement or your health insurance or your auto insurance or anything else, but now we're saying, okay, employers are sponsoring the program. That's a pretty nice thing. We think it's commonplace now, right? Everybody thinks they have to find a job with a 401k or a pension, but really the reality is this is in your court. This ball is in your hands. You have to do something with it. And if your employer is kind enough to sponsor a plan, now look, they get something out of it too. The money they pay you, they don't have to pay certain other expenses that go along with that, because for every dollar they give you, they have to pay taxes and insurance and other things on that. So if they give it to you in the form of a retirement incentive or a bonus, that works for them too. So everybody wins all around. And I think for you to win, looking for that free money, putting money away automatically each and every month. I just read articles recently, and I was looking at some of the things that people are doing to get rich quick, right? I'm always curious to see what new fandangled ideas or concepts are out there. And you would be surprised. Every single article I read, it said there is no get rich quick. You have to save automatically every month and pay yourself as though it were a bill. Every single article said that, and I thought, how amazing is that? That's the most, I think, obvious thing, yet people are not doing it. Our baby boomers, they really get beat up, but I have to share something with you, a statistic. This says 19% here, so let's round it up to 20. So that's 1 in 5 baby boomers does not save in a 401k plan when it's offered. So here your employer is sponsoring a plan and offering it to you to save pre-tax, so you don't pay tax on that money, to go put it in your pocket, in your left pocket, for your future, and you're not saving. 1 out of 5 baby boomers does not do that. Isn't that staggering?
I think part of this process is realizing that we have a longer life expectancy.
We do.
So the need of funds, we usually break it down into 3 10-year buckets. Okay, think of it like this. In the financial world, you're going to need bucket number 1, which is usually the time, as Jeff was saying, the first 10 years after you retire. That's when you're going to spend the most money. That's when you're going to take your kids to Disney World, cruises, vacations. That's when you're going to be doing traveling back and forth to them because they're maybe too young or too busy to travel to you. So you're going to be spending funds on things that you wouldn't normally do anyway. Right, you're not traveling once a month anywhere, and you're not taking your kids or grandkids out because 1, they didn't exist when you were in your 40s,
right.
And 2, you were working as well. So now all of a sudden you hit this first 10 years of retirement, and it's almost like someone opens the floodgate for some people. They'll rush out and they'll start buying things that they denied themselves before. They'll rush out and they'll upgrade their RV if that's what they're into. Mm-hmm. Certainly embellish on the world of hobbies, whether it's even for 10 minutes or 2 hours, and they get to a place that does what? Well, as long as they have guaranteed source of income or steady stream of income, doesn't really even matter. So we think something like a fixed indexed annuity or a fixed annuity or a guaranteed pension or a steady stream of income from whatever various sources, whether it's rental property, whatever it is that you have multiple sources of income is the key. I like 5. 5 sources of income with 5 different, generally speaking, sources. We want to say asset classes, but that can be a little confusing. Sources, right? So a pension, that comes from a company. Or it can come from a separate source. Like you can pull the cash out, like we mentioned at some of those industries earlier, and they're taking those lump sums. If you're given an option to take a lump sum check from Verizon or Edison or the gas company or whatever, consider it. Because there's some benefits there that may not exist if you leave it behind. For example, your children can inherit big buckets of money. Now you might say, I don't really care about my kids. Fine, your grandchildren. Now Arif.
Pulling the heartstrings, huh?
Grandchildren are cute. My kids, been there, done that. So your grandkids, you can set up scholarship funds. You can do all sorts of things if you were to pass away and to leave that for them. So that exists only when you take the lump sum option. And you still have to manage it, right? You don't put it all on red or go buy some crazy investment scheme where it can go up or down and lose everything. You don't do those things. Not with this. You have play money. You have $5,000 or $10,000, and you say, "Oh, I've saved this up, and it's just my little play money." Go for it. 5 or 10,000 is still a lot of money for me. I wouldn't gamble that, but some people do. They do that. So keep in mind that you have a source of those funds that is guaranteed. But the other part is maybe you are going to move, downsize, relocate out of state. Keeping your home as a rental property is what a lot of people do. That means it's another source of revenue. Maybe you're going to inherit a third or half of your parents' home when they pass away. keeping that as a source of rental property income is another great source of revenue. So do you see where I'm going is these are steady and slow things, but over time, 5 different sources of income are real. Your pension, his pension. Your lump sum buyout where we create your own pension is what Total Financial Solutions does. And at the same time, maybe your spouse has a pension where they don't have a lump sum option. Fine. We take one and do it with what we can and then the other, right? So we build in those. You might have a retirement account like a 401k. We take that out. Even if you're still working today and you're past age 55, for about half of the folks, we can pull that money out. After age 59, for nearly everybody, we can pull that money out, get it out of risk, get it out of fees, put it in a place where you're not going to pay fees and not going to have risk when the market goes down. So that's another source or another thing you can do where you're reducing some of the craziness. And what that does in the unretirement or the unretirement, right, is to say, now I'm going to go back to work for purpose. And when we come back, we're going to get into those details because the first step is key. What? Have the funds to make a choice, to make the decision.
That's
Jeff,
right.
we have seen it. Some that have come to us and they have all the choices in the world. That's a different person than somebody who's forced to work.
Truly.
If you planned right, you're working with a company like ours, great, we can help. I'm Arif Halaby, Total Financial Solutions Save for Money Hour, along with Jeff Gerard. And your place for news, talk, and information, this is AM 1220 KHTS.